It's time for the Ella Johnson Show. Thanks for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show, where there are two sides to every story. Enjoy the broadcast. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. I am so very excited to be here. Listen, it's been a minute, right, guys? Listen, y'all know I've been traveling. I've been in Monroeville 2 weekends in a row for the homecoming, for the wedding. Y'all saw it, but I am back. It's time for us to bring more quality shows to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching from Facebook, do me a favor and share the broadcast. Today's broadcast, I know, is something that's going to bless your socks off. Okay. If you have teenagers in your household, if you're a young parent with young boys and girls that you are raising, if you're a family of 6, 10, 15, doesn't matter, whatever the case may be, this is the show for you to watch today. So I'm excited that we're here live and we're going to bring this show to you today. And as you can tell, I have my friend here, Emmanuel Scott, with me today. I think it's been a minute since we've been trying to get this done, right, Emmanuel, for us to have this show.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
Listen, God is always in the details, and I am just so excited that you're here with us today. I want to say this, though. In the past year, 19.7% of Black and African-American adults have experienced a mental health condition, with 4.7% having a serious mental illness. What this means is that Black adults with a mental health condition are significantly less likely to have received treatment, with only about 1 in 3 receiving mental health care in the past year. And that's according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness. This is an issue. When you say, Emmanuel, that's why I am so glad that you reached out, because your timing, like I was telling him before the broadcast, your timing was perfect, because the Sonia Massey situation, which is alleged to have been as a result of a mental breakdown that went bad, and then all of the issues that are going on in my hometown with all the killings and shootings and just chaos, lots of chaos. And I think that it's time for us to have this conversation. It should no longer be a taboo thing for us to talk about mental health. So I want to introduce my guest to you guys, and then we're going to jump into it because he's going to share his story with us today. Emmanuel Scott was raised in Monroeville, guys. He's an author of the book Becoming that we're going to talk about today. He is a father of 3 kids. I just recently met one of them. I wish she could come back. Sarah. Hi, Sarah. He's a husband to Andrea, and he's a musician. Now, his life started out a little rough, and it landed him in prison for 4 years. Now, what looked like the end was just the beginning of his transformation, right? He found his identity in God, and he's here today on the Ella Johnson Show to prove that God can turn your pain into your purpose. Wow. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show.
Welcome, everyone.
Yes. I'm so glad that you decided to come here, Emmanuel, because, it's never easy, really, to tell your story, especially when you went through so much. But today we're going to address mental health and bring some awareness about what happens in the Black community, how we either neglect it or it goes undiagnosed, whatever the case may be. We're going to jump right in. So I want you to tell everybody, when did you grow up in Monroeville?
Yes, ma'am. before I get to that, I just want to say thank you, Miss Ella, for allowing me on your platform and letting this be a space for conversations like this to happen. Much needed.
Yeah.
I remember growing up in Alabama. I think it was 1990 when I moved to Pineview, Pineview, a little small community in Monroe, Alabama.
Pineview Heights.
Yes, ma'am. Pineview Heights.
That's where I'm from. Yes. PVH. Yes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you lived in Monroe for altogether how many years?
20 years before I moved to Kentucky, where I
20
currently.
years. Okay. And so tell me, what year did you graduate from high school there? What class were you in?
I'm the class of 05.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh. By 2005, so tell I was already here. Well,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. Now you mentioned to me that you were born into chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say it, but that's not uncommon in our community. Describe what your chaos was like in your
Okay.
community.
Yeah, chaos is anything that's dysfunctional. Chaos for me in my formative years and years that was important. I was raised in a gambling house, in a bootleg house. Full of card games, loud music, cussing, listening to Lenny Williams. Before I knew about ABCs, I knew how to pour a dollar shot. So, that's the kind of environment I was in. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow.
Well,
now, I do like Lenny Williams. I do like Lenny Williams. Now, just saying. Right. But I get it. The bootlegging, that was something that was very common as well. Because I had dealings with that as well. So you learned how to pour shots to sell them. Yes.
Yes,
wow.
man. I knew $1 shot glass, the $2 shot glass looked like. Hand me money. I mean, that's the right glass.
Yeah. But you managed to graduate though. Did you have good grades when you were in school?
I started out having good grades, but by the time I got in high school, which we'll get into later, I started, making bad grades and bad decisions.
Yeah. That's not unheard of either. So let's talk about some of those bad decisions, because one of the things that's near and dear to my heart is what's going on in Alabama right now. Right now, it seems like the young people are just running amok, and they have access to guns now because of the law. Of course, Alabama, just like Florida, is a red state, and in Alabama, they don't have any restrictions about people having a gun. You don't have a record or whatever, you can have a gun. You have to have a license for it. Crazy.
Right.
But that's what's going on. So they obviously have a little bit more things, more options than we did or you did growing up there. So tell me about some of that stuff that you used to do that you're not so proud of. Well, it got you where you are today, but some of the things that you did when you were growing up in Alabama.
Some of the things I did is probably some of the same things a lot of kids still doing today. We were influenced by our culture. We were influenced by our experience, and we were influenced by music. So without proper guidance, you tend to do what you see around you. That's selling dope or doing dope or drinking or doing what it is to survive. For me, I didn't get into that later into my 20s. My story is a little bit different. Growing up in Pineview, when you experience a lot of pain and trauma and you feel that you are neglected, a child needs love, a child needs guidance, a child needs to be nurtured. But when that is neglected and instead of giving that, you're giving pain, you're giving accusations, you're growing up around dysfunction, you tend to go in what we call defense mode, defending yourself. And by the time I got in high school, I haven't went through so much trauma, which they can find in my book, that I didn't have an identity. I didn't know who I was or who I wanted to be. So in the process, I gravitated to what made me feel like I was somebody in those moments.
Wow. So you wanted fast money?
Well, I wanted to be seen. Money didn't come. Yeah, it was in high school. I didn't really care about money until I had a son, and then that became important. But in high school, I just wanted to be seen.
Wanted to be seen.
Wanted to be
liked it. So did you grow up in the type of family where, okay, did you go to church? And if so, where did you attend church in Monroe?
Church. Well, I didn't per se go to church, but when I did go to church, my first experience with church was Bethel Baptist Church down there in Clausdale.
Okay.
Where I got the calling of Christ on my life. I was chasing the girl that used to have Wednesday night Bible potlucks where the van used to come
yeah.
pick up everybody. And this girl
Yeah.
arrested me and got on the bus, and I followed her there. That was my first encounter with Christ and where I got my calling.
Oh, wow. So, but when you were going through all of your stuff, did you have anybody, Emmanuel, that you felt comfortable speaking with? And if so, who?
I didn't. And as I get older, it's probably because it wasn't there. It's because sometimes my parents have their own issues that they're going through. So it wasn't offered. It wasn't maybe a atmosphere created for that. So no, I didn't have anyone to really talk to. I was just going with the flow.
Not even on the outside, not even a teacher, not even a auntie or anybody that you felt comfortable, saying, listen, I need to talk to somebody. Or did you even feel like you needed to talk to somebody?
I didn't even feel that I needed to talk to anybody. It wasn't
Okay.
a thought that I would do something. I need to talk to somebody. It was dysfunction is normal when it's all you know. Dysfunction looks like functional until you get around something like, hey, the way I've been living or how I was raised, that's not right.
So tell me, did you experience that at all in Monroe? That where you actually had an aha moment? Wait, tell us about that day and who it was with.
I didn't have an aha moment until I went to prison.
Okay. We'll get to that one then. We'll get to that. I want to still address Monroe. So when did you, so you left Monroe when you were 23 years old, because you were there 20 years, right? So what made you leave? What prompted you to get out of there?
It was kind of a divine intervention. After the divorce of my parents, my mother got a Vanity Fair closed down there, and God blessed her with a job up here in Kentucky at Fruit of the Loom, and I just went with her. My wife at the time, me and her had a bad breakup, and I just chose to go with my mother because I would have had nowhere else to go.
So you got married young?
Yes, at 19 years.
Okay. What prompted that? Was this like what caused you to get married so young?
Kind of core horse, and it was the right thing to do,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now you've left Monroe and you moved to Kentucky with mom. But you said prior to leaving Monroe, that's where you realized it was a call in your life. And you went to Bethel and saw that. Who was preaching that day? What were they preaching about? And how did it affect you?
I can't remember the name, but on the first time I heard my calling, I was around 13. And we went to a potluck and they was going around. I can't remember. I wish I could remember their name. But they was going around teaching us about the trees and about the plants. And the question was, who created all of this? God. And everybody was yelling, God. And then I was interested in who was God's first time I really heard about God. And it's like, it's hard to explain. It's like I was so intrigued more than the other kids. When they was off doing their things, I really wanted to walk with this person. I think it was Mr. Prier, if I'm not mistaken. Wanted to know more about this guy they were talking about. And all that day for the next few days, I was wondering, who is this God? And then there were things, that was the first time I encountered God. And then at 19 years old, I would like to add, I was dating this young lady, and she wanted me to meet her mom. Her mom was bedridden because she was sick. And we were walking down the hallway. Before I can go through the door, she said, stop right there. So now I'm like, what's going on? She said, come in here, young man. And she said, God has an anointing on your life. She said, I don't know what I'm going to do with you, but you need to follow Christ and get your life right, because he's going to do something through you. Now that made an impact on me. That didn't come back to me later on in life, because that day I was like, okay, what's she talking about? Let's go, guys. Let's leave.
Oh, wow. So I like that, because along the way you've been getting inklings of, okay, maybe there is something more. And I find it interesting that that was the first time you heard about God, and you were 13 years old.
In the sense of Christianity, the first, you hear stories about God, but you don't get it from a biblical standpoint. You hear about, if you cuss, you better move away from your cousin because God gonna strike you down. God was mentioned,
Oh,
but
like a third person kind of way. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Now that's interesting. That is interesting. Okay, so you went to church, you heard about God, and that didn't stop you from pursuing other things, though. Right.
No, man.
Yeah, none of us ever get it right the first time. That is so true. It takes a few times, right?
Well,
so tell me about when you moved to Kentucky. What was that like, and how different was that from Monroeville?
Kentucky was a brand new start for me. But one thing about trauma and dysfunction, it follows you. Just because I got out of Pineview and Monroeville didn't mean that it was out of me. So now I'm in a new place, still unhealed, still haven't dealt with issues, but a chance to start over and make a name for myself and be seen. And I just carried all that trauma. I packed my clothes and my trauma up and moved to Kentucky. And that's when the real thing began, because now I'm on my own. My mom and dad is divorced. I feel like I got to be the man of the house. Got a child back in Monroeville that really not doing such a good job taking care of financially. And the mom made it real bad. So now I got pressure on me.
So now you got pressure to take care of the child financially. Wow. You got to take care of the house because dad's not there. That's a lot for a young man, right? That's a lot. And
who don't have a clue, a young man who don't have an idea
of how to do it. So how did you do it? What did you do?
I failed at it. I didn't work. I tried working, I was like most kids, like it didn't make no sense. I worked 8 hours a day for $12 an hour, and then for payday I'm broke again. So I didn't work, and that was my excuse. And I tried selling dope, I tried robbing. And the reason I was so bold too, because even though I didn't do that in my younger days, I was around people who done it and I experienced it. So it's what made me, okay, now it's my turn. This is what my cousins or older uncles, or well, not uncles, or older friends, people I hung around, this is what they did when times were hard. They sold dope. Let me try it. Well, I ain't never sold dope in my life. I probably end up owning a dope man more than I needed to.
So you weren't an experienced dope dealer. You were like wannabe kind of.
Yeah.
You didn't do a good.
Most of if they're scared to admit, most of us want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, at some point you got caught.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you get caught?
I got caught not for selling dope. I got caught for armed robbery. I robbed a armored truck in 2011 here in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
You must have watched Dead Presidents.
Yes, man.
You got inspired by Dead Presidents. Okay.
Favorite cousin.
Not to make light of it. Right. So you guys, so it was you and your cousin, and you guys got in trouble for that.
I brought my cousin because it wasn't the movie, that it was his experience, that was a seed that planted on me that gave me the, confidence to do it. It's our upbringing and what we experience shape our thoughts, shape our behavior. So that's
say that again. That was good. I want everybody to hear that. Say that one line you just said. Say that again.
Our trauma shapes our thoughts, and our thoughts shapes our behavior. Our experience shapes our thoughts, and our thoughts shapes our behavior. Excuse me.
Your experience shaped your thoughts, and your thoughts shaped your behavior. So your experiences of what shaped your thoughts?
Dysfunction, going around, growing up with drifting, you know, smoking, drinking, not having a plan, not waking up with goals. And if you did, you didn't wake up with a plan, you wake up with a plot. And the plot was, what can I do to make a couple of dollars today? Just so I could do what? Waste it on booze and marijuana. Those were my younger days growing up when I became a teenager and a rapper in Monroe, Alabama. Mm-hmm.
Right. So let's go back to this armored truck and so now you did this robbery. Were you still doing drugs when you were in Kentucky, or just robbing?
Marijuana.
Okay. So tell us about the day you got caught.
Okay, so I'm gonna zoom to that, go back and then get to there without giving much information.
Okay.
So
okay.
I believe that our culture, music, movies, the things that we watch heavily influence us, especially when we don't have a God at hand telling us this is not our life, or this is not what black men were about. So I did what every other black man does if they're not good at sports. We rap. And being this fake image rapper, because this is the culture I brought up in, even though my mother, Josephine Curry, raised me better, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have a bad mother or a bad father. They just had their thing going on. And, you know,
right.
still instilled things in me. But around that time, formative years have already shaped me. You know, it's too late to hear all that because now I'm out here doing my own things she didn't know I was doing. So I don't want to say that I have a great mother. Now I'm in Bowling Green, a rapper, rapping about robbing. I ain't never robbed nobody in my life, heard stories about it, but didn't have the guts. And there's a section in my book where I call I rapped my way into prison. There's power of life and death in the tongue, and those who love it eat of. And I really speak out your mouth, you're manifest. It's in the Bible. So I was rapping about robbery. This guy who I was my co-defendant, who was really about that life, pulled me to the side and asked me, was I about that life? Knowing I'm not about that life, but wanted to not be a punk and seem like I'm hard from the street, I said I was about that life. Fast forward, we end up doing 2 robberies, one at the gas station of his way of testing me. The second one was an armored truck. But before robbing the armored truck, we were going to do a bank. And I was sitting in that car and I came to myself, what are you doing?
Yes.
You is going to make the worst decision of your life. And he had a family member in there just scoping the things. And while she was scoping, the idea was for her to come back and tell us what was going on for us to do it. Mm-hmm. I used that time, seeing the armored truck filling the ATM, and I wanted to use that as a scapegoat. I said, hey, man, let's rob this armored truck. In hopes that we would follow this armored truck, it would be around crowds, and we couldn't do it. And then I was going to get away, cut my contact off from him, and go on with my life. But it didn't happen. Kept following the armored truck. We kept following the armored truck. Then it got to this place, and I was just tired, and I was just ready to go home. So I jumped out with a pellet gun, Miss Ella Johnson. I use that. I'm a comedian as well, and I see on the stage. On the outside, that was the dumbest thing I could have ever done. But in prison, it was the most gangster thing I could have done. They called me BB King. So, but it was the dumbest thing I could have done.
Yeah.
And long story short, we got away, Miss Ella. And I ended up coming back to Pineview. Hood rich, you know, $30,000 in my pocket because we didn't keep the whole money bag. And I went back to moreover, still with the same mindset, still with unhealed trauma. And I went broke in less than 2 weeks, giving out money and partying. That's when it hit me there. Okay, I got a 2-year-old son, and I'm out here living like a fool. I'm gonna go back to Bowling Green. I'm gonna enroll in college, and I'm gonna get my life together. So after about 2 to 3 weeks, I ended up coming back to Bowling Green. Also, there was a female I was dating who I wanted to come back to as well. My co-defendant had other plans. He did some things that got his license plate ran. And when I got back, I went to go visit a family member because I haven't seen her. He was there. So immediately I was like, nah, I'm going to go visit my girlfriend. So I asked my family member to drop me off at my girlfriend's house. And when she did, unmarked cars and SUVs surrounded her house. And they were looking for him because of something he did while I was gone. Now I'm trying to make a way. Now after that fiasco, they went back to my family member's house, and now I'm trying to find my way back to my. But I called for this, her house surrounded, and she's crying hysterical because she don't know what's going on.
Right.
I put her in a situation, me and this guy. So I did the right thing. They wasn't looking for me in my young thinking. They weren't looking for me. They was looking for him. So let me at least go over there and comfort my family member. We went over there. Police let me in. Come to find out they was looking for him for a gun because he put a gun out on somebody, and he had it on him. They towed his car, picked him up, and on my way back to Monroeville, I got a text saying, "I think it's best I tell the truth." And the police came and picked me up from my girlfriend's house after that text an hour later. And that was July of 2011. And I was there ever since 2015 of July.
Wow. So you didn't really get caught per se. You actually turned yourself in.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yep.
And how did you, and I know you got a lot of flack for that, right? Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. What did you go through when you decided to do that? Like,
well, I called my pastor and my mother, my pastor at the time, my mother. Mama already knew. Mama already knew. Well, all of a sudden, I'm trying to go to Monroeville, and I'm handing her a whole bunch of tens, giving her some money, and then I flee into Monroeville. She knew something wasn't right. She asked me, came back, and I denied it. But when I got her, they came, and they was like, the best thing you can do is tell the truth. Now, most people will be like, why you didn't deny it, especially Miss Ella, after my co-defendant was found incompetent to stand trial again, because this was his second time getting arrested. He was the only witness against me. So if I would have kept my mouth closed when he got found incompetent to stand trial, possibly a case dismissed with me. But my mother and pastor was like, I think it's best you tell the truth. And that's what I did.
Wow. And you got 4 years.
I got 20 years. This is crazy. This is a testimony to God. The first time in my arraignment, I was facing 45 years, with 40 years at 85%, basically life. And the second hearing, they offered me 20 years at 85%, which means I would do 85% of 20 years until I have a chance to see the parole board. Then after my co-defendant got found incompetent to stand trial, the court showed me mercy, offering me 10 years at 85%. Or 20 years at 20%, which is 4 years to the parole board. I didn't know what to do. The inmates in the back in the holding area is like, man, take that 10 at 85, because if you do 8 years and they flop you, you probably got just a few more months and you can get out and don't have to worry about parole. Or if you do make it, you just got a few months on parole. But if you got 20 years at 20%, I had a high profile crime, and there was an opportunity they could have kept flopping me, and I ended up doing 17 years. But my mother came to the back after a request. She said, I want you to take the 20 at 20, and we're going to pray that God lets you home after 4 years.
Oh, what?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God. Now that's different.
Yes, ma'am.
That changes the game. And you realize that it was nobody but God.
Yes.
Yes. And I think it's because you were honest. And I think that was God's way of honoring you. So let's talk about, go ahead.
No, I was saying sometimes God has to sit us down to get our attention. He has to take us away from things to talk to us. That was my belly of the whale experience.
And it's not like he doesn't speak to us. We just ignore him. Like people that are watching this broadcast, you're listening to his story and you see yourself in so many ways in this. I'm telling you, it's those little moments, that God is speaking to you. When you say, I don't know what made me do that. I hear that all the time.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, sometimes we got to shut off the noise.
Yes.
We fill our heads with so much of this social media stuff that we can't hear God when he's speaking. And somehow we magically hear him when we go to prison, right? So tell me what I'm sorry, you I didn't hear that part. What'd you say?
I'm sorry. Or our rock bottom. Sometimes it takes our rock bottom moment for us.
Yeah.
That's the blessedness of brokenness.
So when you were in prison, what did you hear God say? What kinds of things was he saying to you?
Well, when I went the first day when I was in prison, actually the first day of jail, when they called my inmate name, when they called my number, I wasn't even Mr. Scott number. I was a 6-digit number, and they called me to the pod, which was the place where the guard is. And the first thing hit my mind, I popped up. Mama done saved me again. She came and got me out of another situation. But when I got to the pod, it was boxers, socks, a thermal, and a Bible. And that's when it hit me. I'm gonna be here for a while. So I took my Bible into the cell and I began reading the Bible, Miss Ella. And through that course of me reading the Bible, which I think is a blessing, I have nothing against churches out here. I pray the churches will continue to heal so they can do God's work. But say this carefully, I wasn't indoctrinated. It was just me and the Word of God. No Baptist, no Pentecostal, no Apostolic. Just me and God's words. And what God's word did to me first, it revealed Jesus Christ. Then it revealed my identity in Jesus Christ. And that's when God began to change me.
That's interesting. I've never been to prison, so I didn't know that they equip you with they give you the Bible. Like they gave you. Why do you think that's one of the items they give you?
No, it was from Mama. She didn't say me. She gave me a Bible. She dropped off some socks, some boxers.
It came from her. Okay. Because she knew that this is the only way, son.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not something and I've never been in prison, so you help me out with this. That's not something that you can do in the natural. You have to kill your flesh to be able to receive, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Because did pride ever creep in? You're like, I can't believe this. I mean, like, were you proudful? Or when you first went in, did it take you some time to get used to the idea and then you accepted God? Or how was that for you?
First few weeks, was kind of, I'm in an unfamiliar territory. So I was just kind of filling out my surroundings. But then as I got into getting used to the routines of being in jail, my routine was studying the Word of God, and come out and mingle every once in a while. But it wasn't like, okay, I'm here now. I'm just gonna read the Bible, nothing else. I was around culture and I still wasn't healed. So I still did what everybody else did in the jail. But one thing I did daily was pray and read that Bible. And going to jail to prison, the transformation happened over years. It wasn't in one night.
Wasn't overnight, exactly. So when you learned that you were going to get out in 4 years, how did you get that? How did you get that call?
It was It was in May of 2025, and that's you go off. You see the parole board 2 months before your actual 4th year, and I done everything I was supposed to do, which was a blessing in disguise. See, I had to go fatherhood classes, moral recognition therapy classes. I got certificates in jail. National Career Readiness Test, which made me ready for jobs. Just learn some basic skills. Now, I wanted to do that because I wanted to impress the parole board. That's the only reason I did it. But after going through those programs, especially moral recognition therapy, which was a seed planted in me, okay, this is why I'm behaving the way I'm behaving. But we're gonna get into that.
Mm.
But the parole board talked to me on the camera. They asked me a few questions. I answered the questions. It was a 10-minute call. A week later, in mail call, I got the letter that I made parole. And around that time, I didn't have any money on the phone. But sometimes you can call a family member, and then you get a 15-second phone call. Usually put some money on my phone. My 15-second phone call was, "Hey, mom, I made parole," and
To God be the glory. I
remember hearing my mama yelling, "Thank you, Jesus! Thank you, Jesus!" Yep.
Wow. So in that moment, like what were you feeling?
I was ready. I thought I was ready. I was ready to get out, but I thought I was ready for the world. But I was definitely ready to get out. I found my calling to preach in prison, and I was a part of the inmate Bible study led program. I had mentors in prison. I just surrounded myself around God and God's people, and I was just ready to get out with this new identity, with this new zeal for a second
Oh
chance.
wow. So when you got out, did you do right?
I did right for the most part, as far as, and I never went back. I kept a job. I started out Taco Bell, making $7.50 an hour, and I stuck it out. I didn't care how hard it was, because in prison I was picking up dead animals and waste on side of the road for $5 a day. So I can do the $7.50 an hour job.
Okay. And you didn't have any further incidents, right? After that.
No, ma'am. I wasn't perfect, but I didn't do anything criminal.
That's
Miss,
good.
I wasn't really supposed to be in there in the first place. It's just because I do what a lot of other kids do. We are influenced and we make bad decisions. Unfortunately, because of favor, God allowed me a second
Yes.
chance, because
Yes.
kids coming in there at 19 years old. They was locked up as a juvenile, and then they came over to the jail when they became of age, and they had crimes and cases where they're never going to get out, all because they made a bad decision. And that was when the first purpose came to me, that when God gave me another chance, I want to create programs. I want to do something that can help influence these kids. Because you don't have to be the rapper or the dope dealer or whatever you influence. You could be a doctor. You could be a lawyer. You can be a plumber. You could be an electrician. They just need to be shown different in order to do different. And I know I probably not save everybody, but there has to be programs for these kids.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I was just recently in a conversation on Facebook about the guns and the killing in Monroeville. And you and I talked a little bit about this before the broadcast. We have a situation where we have a bunch of kids. There's not really a lot to do in Monroeville. There's no the options for having good jobs. Vanity Fair left, you know that, because your mom, that's what caused your mom to leave. And a lot of other companies are shutting down. Like you just got Walmart. And of course, because they're franchised the way they are, they obviously have restrictions against records and stuff like that. So you really need some of these mom and pops to hire people, but they don't have a whole lot. Or
Right.
it's, nepotism is real, because they're hiring their cousins and brothers and aunts and uncles and stuff to work in the stores. So that leaves them to resort to a life of crime.
Yes.
There's a lot of killing going on. These are young people. Okay. I want you to tell me what you think when you hear that.
I think it's trauma, unhealed trauma.
Okay.
And until we address the root, all we're gonna do is keep on putting band-aids on the scabs that they continue to scratch off.
I'm so glad you said that. I talked about that band-aid. That's what we good at. As long as we don't see it, we feel like it's okay. But when it's in our back door, because and this is what I want people to think about. Let's say you got cut, you got an injury. Obviously, we know you got to put some medicine on it. Put the Band-Aid over it so it can heal. In the natural, that looks good. Now you can take that Band-Aid off and it's brought that skin back together. And all you have now is just a scar, which is proof that you were hurt. Okay. Just a scar. That scar is not bleeding. It's not causing any current damage, but it's just a reminder that there was some hurt there at one time. Now in life, what's really happening to us is we go through trauma. We go to church every Sunday. That's a Band-Aid. Well, I'm in church. As long as I'm under this covering, I'm going to be all right. But then something will happen. We go out in the real world and we're challenged with something. And now that Band-Aid comes off and that wound is open again.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think that we're in a Band-Aid society and then we're getting triggered.
Yes,
whether
ma'am.
It's that multi-generational trauma we talked about, historical, or any of those kinds of things. I think that's what's creating this. So let's talk about that Band-Aid. Let's talk about the Band-Aid, and then let's talk about how we're being exposed when that Band-Aid comes off. Do you what do you think in the Black community we're using as the Band-Aid besides, well, I'm just gonna go to church every Sunday?
Anything to cover up or numb our emotions or our pain. For some, it may look like drugs and alcohol. For some, it may look like going to church, but say this carefully, because I pray for church. I pray God will revive our churches. But sometimes we are stuck in that slavery mentality where there was a point where the community did go to church and they sung praise and they was waiting on deliverance. So that was a time for that. But now, as a people, as a whole, even though we still face systemic racism, we are more freer now than we have ever been, but we're still living in survival mode, singing the, oh, help me, I'm waiting on Jesus to come save me, when Jesus has given us the tools to save ourselves. But it starts with healing.
I'm so glad you said that. Starts with healing. So when someone says, well, it's not my problem, it starts at home. Let them get their healing from home. But then what happens if home is hurting? You grew up in chaos.
Yes, right. And it's kind of, that's where it's right. It does start at home, but we have to heal home if we want heal children's. And Frederick Douglass said itself, it's easier to fix a kid than a broken man. And I understand, I'm saying that verbatim, and I understand why he said that. But I feel I serve a God who could change anybody, and not to be the churchy, but until people allow the spirit and the scriptures to, even therapy is so important. Until I went to therapy, even as a minister, I was unhealed. In the pulpit, hope, but I still had some doubts myself. In the pulpit, preaching healing, but secretly still having issues. And it was therapy that helped open my eyes to why I was behaving the way I was behaving, because there was still a little boy and there's still a little girl and someone who has yet to be healed. We didn't get what we needed as a kid and we didn't address it. So we grow up physically, but we never grew up spiritually. And that's what trauma is. It disconnects us from God, and it puts us in a state of survival mode, disconnecting us and not being who God created us to be. It's emotional. Trauma is an imprint left on the mind and the body from someone who has been deeply distressed, and it alters the way we feel, think, and often how we act. And sometimes we don't even know that we're doing that because we have.
I want to talk about this because before I came to do the broadcast, I went live on Facebook, and one of my very good friends brought up this particular phrase, and it says post-traumatic slavery syndrome. Now, I don't know any of you that may or may not have heard about this. I've heard about it, but when he said it during that live, I was like, I think I want to definitely bring that to the show so that other people can see that this stuff is real. And I brought up the definition. It's a theory describing the multi-generational trauma passed down from the enslavement of
Yes.
Africans and their descendants, which manifests in a set of adaptive survival behaviors and psychological impacts still felt today. Symptoms can include difficulty concentrating, feelings of hopelessness, emotional numbing, and heightened suspicion. And the theory suggests that the historical trauma is often exacerbated by contemporary racial oppression and
Yes.
internalized racism.
Mhm.
Okay? So this is real.
Yes.
And I think that this is heightened right now in our country.
Yes. Yes.
And I think this is why we're not getting the results, because we still need to heal from this stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
So what does that look like in modern terms for people that are watching that says, okay, I know you read the definition, but what does that really mean? What does that look like in real time?
It means it looks like it means sitting down and being open to change. One of my favorite analogies, Miss Ella, is there's this one day it was on Thanksgiving, and there was a daughter who witnessed her mother cutting the end off a ham and putting it in the oven. And she asked the mother, "Why do we do that?" And she was like, "I don't know. It's something my mother did." So the daughter called the grandmother and said, "Hey, grandma, when you cut the end of the ham and put it in pan and put it in the oven, why do we do that?" She said, "I don't know. That's just something my mother did."
Oh,
Before
wow.
great grandmother was living, and she asked the great grandmother, "Grandmother, when you cut the end of the ham and put it in a pan and put it in the oven, why do we do that? Still good meat." She said, "Baby, back then we didn't have big enough pans to put in the oven, so we used to have to cut the meat so it would fit in the oven." And it was passed down, and that's what happens things are passed down, and we don't even know why we're doing some of the things that we're doing. So first and foremost, a person has to want to heal. Miss
Right.
preach healing and trauma all we want, but a person has to get sick and tired of do the same. And a person has to have a heart enough not only for themselves but for their brothers and their sisters. And until we can point as a community, then we're just going to continue to go through the cycles.
You know, it's a good point that you brought that up, because in my notes I learned here that mental health, it's influenced by some things. And one is genetics. Family history. Okay, this is the thing. Have you ever seen someone who they're going through something, their mama went through it, their mom's mom went through it, and now it's like, how does that continue to happen? Is it how are we failing to stop this cycle? And how do we do it?
It takes some people who are bold enough and courageous enough to wave a white flag and speak on tough conversations that many refuse to have,
and do something about it.
Well,
because everybody, there are a lot of people that see it. They're like, well, girl, listen, we all had to go through it. I know, but dad abuses me. Yeah, but we all went through it. You be fine. And it's continuous. And nobody is bold enough to say, no, it stops right here and right now. So where do we get that appetite to want to change these generational historical types of traumas that's going on in our families? Are we afraid to stop it? Do we not know how? Do we feel like it's not my problem? Let her deal with it. I had to go through it. She's got to go through it too. Like, how do we build an appetite to want to stop it?
Well, I know in the Bible verbatim it says a word of God can't be heard unless there's a preacher. So it has to. And goes back to saying there has to be some people courageous enough to speak up on it and create that thirst and hunger. Some people know they need something, but they don't know what it is that they need.
Don't know what it is. That's why we have to do shows like this, because some people won't recognize that they're in a mental health crisis until they see shows like this. They just think, well, his daddy was like that. He just acting like his daddy, as if that's a badge of honor. Yeah, right. And then our words. Oh my God, Emmanuel, our words have so much power. Well, your daddy wasn't nothing. You ain't gonna be nothing either.
Yes.
Why do we say that? Why do we say that to our children?
Or you sit your little bad A down. I mean, that's all you hear growing up. I'm a bad A, so
Oh,
I
he's
ain't
so
nothing else.
bad. Child, that boy
Yeah.
bad. I hate when
Yep.
people call kids bad. That's one of my
Yeah.
pet peeves. That I just absolutely hate that, because I think words have power. I think we should, instead of call, and how important is this, Emmanuel, to be married to a woman that speaks to the king in you? You know, like, how important is that for a man?
Miss Ella, it is so important, because if women would know, if only women knew the power that God has put in them. The woman has the power to lift a man up or tear him down. And that's because a man, when he finds his soulmate, he loves hard. And having a woman in your life to not only put up with you and be patient with you while you still trying to figure out what it is you're trying to do, but to also not belittle you. Also, someone where you probably have many days where you couldn't take her on a date, but she don't call you a broke in, but she continue to ride and ride by your side and encourage you. It makes a man want to do better.
Ooh,
When
wow.
my says when I come in the house and my wife said thank you for doing the dishes, next thing, oh okay. Now when you get home, the dishes done and the clothes gonna be folded. It's because
I love it.
we won't
Way to
respect.
go, Andrea. Way to go, dear. Yeah.
That's how we're wired.
Wow. So that's key. So I want to go back to these kids, because this is a real situation in real time that
Mhm.
is happening in Monroeville.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think it's going to take? Because this was my suggestion. I said that we need to address mental health.
Mhm.
We need to get the whole family involved in this, because if you have a kid that messed up, if you will, he's coming from that same kind of background that's messed up, because we're a product of our environment. And if he's growing up in that, he's getting it from somewhere. He didn't come out the womb just wanting to shoot people. Okay, something influenced that. Now I have a list of different things that influences this poor mental health. One was genetics, another one is physical health, another one is life experiences and lifestyles. Those are the
Yes.
4 things that affect our mental health. So
Mm.
I suggested that we do that. What would you suggest, and are you willing to be a part of us creating something to go back and help these young people? What do you think it's going to take, first of all? And then
Miss Ella, I don't think there's a one answer fits all, but I know someone has to start somewhere. Um, it starts from the grassroots. People are in the community, and then it's a political issue too, because if they keep on taking resources from our kids, not give them an opportunity, then what do you think they're going to result to? Because at the end of the day, we're going to survive. So we need resources. But what we can do as a people until we infiltrate or figure out how we can work on the political issue, moreover, is just be on the ground. Let's turn Clausel Pool back to like it used to be, a community event and a resources to give back to people. You know, show people, like you said before this broadcast about your experience with that young man, is loving these people back to life. That's the word. Let's love them back to life.
wow. And how do we do that, Emmanuel? How do we do that? How do we love them back to life?
Well, we have to show up consistently.
Okay.
Just don't show up 1 or 2 times just to put it on Facebook and say, "Hey, I'm doing a good thing." Matter of fact, don't let that not be the motivation, but just to show up consistently first and foremost. Secondly, I think there need to be programs
Yes.
that we together. They don't have the Union High anymore. The Union High was a program that Mr. Joe Porter used to run, where we used to play basketball, you know, as a community, and it was a safe space. So we need to give them kids something to do. These kids are on the internet all the time. They don't have interactions in the community anymore. So their only interactions are virtual. They can't value a human life when all their interactions is virtual. So we need community events so people can love on each other again. You know, I can go on, but
No, I
that's
think
where it starts. It starts in the community.
I love that. And I tell you that, and it has to be people that just care and don't say,
Yes.
well, I don't have, my kids are grown. I ain't getting involved in that. These kids rude now. Yes, the kids can be rude. Yes, the kids are hurting. This is what you do when you hurt. Your behavior is not going to be all sweet when you, the kids are living what's going on inside of their heart. They're living it. And this is where I get frustrated.
Yes,
Number one, we forget that we were young. We forget that we were young. And some of us were wilding out when we were young. You know, some of it,
yes.
that's just like me saying I'm going to judge a young lady because she got pregnant as a teen. I got pregnant as a teen. So what would I do? I would speak love into this girl's life. You can do it.
Yes.
Okay, yes, you
Yes.
did this. God forgive you. Let's see what we can do now to turn this around. You know, or something like that. I mean, we have to find a way, and we can't just leave it up to the hurting household to do it.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
the church play a role? Do you think the church plays a role in this in helping our young people?
Honestly, I think the church is going to play the most important role.
How
But
so?
we have a lot of unhealed people in the churches.
Huh?
Just because
Now say now you got to say that. I'm gonna go real country now. You got to say that one more again.
we have
What
a lot
now?
of we have a lot of
Okay.
unhealed in the churches. Yep. And you said her.
Wow.
I just said earlier, preacher in the pulpit. You know, unhealed, unhealed. And it's till I went to therapy, and God really started working on me that I start living the words that I was preaching. But we have gotten in, we gotten comfortable, and we got in the routine that this is what it is. Go to church on Sunday, you hear a few good music, the preacher
Very
will preach from the,
ritualistic. Mm-hmm.
yes,
And
very traditional.
everybody's hurt. Yeah. And that is the thing. I can't stand that. I can't stand that. We look like Christians, we look like we got it together, but we go home and cry at night. We go home
Yes,
and walk the hallways in our home because we dealing with homosexuality, or we may be dealing with something else that's tearing us away from God, but we don't know that He wants you to get the help you need. That doesn't mean you're not Christian just because you have to
yes,
speak to a psychiatrist. He created them. He blessed and ordained and anointed them. So why would
yes,
we be afraid to go to them?
yes, exactly. Exactly. We really have to start taking mental health really serious, or it's only going to get worse and worse. I fear for my kids.
I'm telling you. You know, another thing too that I learned with some barriers in my study about this, getting prepared for this show, is that we as the Black community, we have created these barriers to getting mental health.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about those barriers. And y'all know I'm not lying. I can say that I'm guilty of it as well. This is why these shows are good, because I get the firsthand knowledge of what I need to do to help Ella. So now I have to share that information. Ella's not coming here to say, y'all need to fix yourself. I got it together. No, we are all going to learn, but I'm not going to not talk about it just because. We need to present it, or we're not going to have a race. I mean, let's
Yes.
just be real. So one of those barriers, stigma. Stigmas. We've placed stigmas on mental health by saying, oh, that ain't our thing. That's for them white folks. We don't have to do all that. We just get on our knees, baby. I can just pray to God. I don't need to go down there and get them folks my money to hear my problems. I've heard it. I've even said it. I've even said it that
Yep.
I don't need to go sit on nobody's couch. I can just talk to God. What do you think about that stigma?
Yep.
And how would you, let's address that one first. We're going to go through all of them, but let's address that one first. What do you think about that as far as like, speak on that one?
I think people, until they experience something different, that's how they always going to think. I thought the same way.
Me
It
too.
was me getting out of Monroe, getting out of that mindset, and getting around something different that was, there's more out here. You know, there's different. There's
Wow.
really people who care about God. There's really people who care about their mental health. Didn't care about my mental health. Marriage was what made me realize that, okay, you got some issues going on. And then when my wife sought therapy, an area area I'm in, there are a lot of Black therapists and people are really seeking healing. That's what made me seek therapy. Like, okay, it's working for my wife. I used to clean the house up, but a sock's on the floor and my wife would still yell. It's because she had unhealed trauma, and she did it because that's what her mama did. But until when she recognized that, when I began to see that change, it made me, okay, maybe I need to go seek this therapy. So what we can do is, since people are stuck in Monroeville and they don't have that ability to get out there, we have to bring the light to that dark place.
Yes, yes. Speak on it. So when people say, why do y'all care so much? Well, because we've learned a lot. When you leave Monroeville, I'm telling you, it is an awakening, because we see, I'm here in Orlando and I see so much different. And I started out going to Tampa first. And I'm like, wow, I was like a fish out of water coming to a different place than Monroeville. And I thought, wow. And that's why we think differently, because we have a different experience. They don't have that experience. And that's why they still think this way. So that's why we're bringing our solutions. It's not to pick, poke fun. We just love our community, right? And you and I love my people. Exactly, right? And you and I were talking about possibly teaming up to do something. We're going to talk about a lot of that in the broadcast. The second barrier, lack of access to cultural competent providers and insurance coverage. Now, what that means is, a lot of times we don't want to talk to white folks. They're not going to understand. They ain't going to understand what it's like to be Black. And you might be right. You might be right, because there's some things that we may say that we know what we mean, and they may like, oh Lord, Ella's depressed, and Ella could just be acting country because she just don't know it. You know, they may misdiagnose us because they're not familiar with the culture. Now, that doesn't mean that a white psychiatrist won't understand a Black person laying on their couch. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, these are the barriers that some people have posed as why they don't get it. That's one of them, because of their lack of thinking that the therapist won't understand where they're coming from. That's the reason I'm pushing for the church. People will go to the church before they'll go to a psychiatrist. So if the church is going to be an open arm and an open place and a safe place for people to go, then they need to make sure they have people that are qualified and not people that are still healing themselves. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree 100%.
Yeah. So another barrier, the third one that I learned, mistrust in the healthcare system. Because of racial discrimination, it's almost like we're afraid to say what's really going on because we're scared we might go to jail. Okay. Like, I don't want to open up to you too much because I might walk out my door and there's cops out there because of the stuff I'm telling you. You know what I'm saying? And that's, how do we get overcome these barriers, Emmanuel? What do you think?
Ms. L, I think first one, it has to definitely come with a want and a desire, first and foremost. And it took me a long time because my therapist called me out at first. You know, he knew I was bull jiving around because I was scared to share some of my deepest, darkest secrets and things that I felt that my therapist would judge me on. And then after he called me out my bull, and then he let me know that I can trust him. And also my pastor, Pastor Dante Paul at Stony Point Baptist Church here in Smith Grove, Kentucky, also who is a therapist and a pastor. Man, it goes, love it. But he always says to me too, I can't help you until you trust me. And when I got comfortable, when the people that love me and showed up, that's why I say we have to be consistent.
Consistent.
Those who were consistent and when I began to let my guard down, then and expose the things that I was hiding, that's when healing began. God can't heal what we won't reveal.
Oh, that's good. God can't heal what we can't. Yeah, I love it. We can't conquer that which we can't confront. Yeah, true. Wow, that is good. I like that. You said something there that was very profound. He said, I can't help you till you trust me. And I think that's what's
You trust.
missing with us being able to reach
Mhm.
these young people, because they don't trust us.
But
And
yes,
that is
ma'am.
something that you have to earn their trust if you're going to be able to help. So that now we've learned that the
Yes, ma'am.
first thing we need to do is get these kids to trust us to the point where they will open up. How do we do that? How do
Mhm.
we get them to trust us and they're not living in our household? How do we get them to trust us?
By showing up, Miss Ella, and by being consistent, by being there. Excuse me, sorry.
Consistency is very important because
Uh,
people are already in and out of their life. That's true. Yeah.
yes, you're from experience. Um, I used to speak at a day treatment center up here for kids, troubled kids and runaways. They go to this school, and I was always asked often to come in and share my story. And out of 3 times I've been there, finally one kid reached out to me and wanted to me to mentor him, for lack of a better word. And I took it serious. I showed up in that kid's life every day. I really cared for that kid. Often asked him to come to church with me. He to this day haven't came to church with me yet. But by me showing up in his life, Miss Ellen, the guy now has a job because he wanted to know how to interview. I showed him how to interview. He wanted to know how to put a resume together. I showed him how to put a resume together. And you know what made him interested in it, Miss Ella? Because here I am, a clean cut person who comes with my shirt tucked in all the time. And he was like, he's never experienced that. He want to know, like, why you always dressed like that? And that particular day, I was dressed like that because I got a job interview today, and I'm hoping I get this job. And then he was like, man, I want to know how to do the interview because every time I have a job, I freeze up. So by me being
Aw.
consistent, being in his life, showing him the basic life skills. But first, before I could do all that, I had to get his trust. I had to, if I said I was going to do it, I had to do it. If I said I was going to be there, I had to be there. Even when I didn't want to answer the phone because I just sometimes didn't want to feel like being bothered. I've been working all day. I finally got home. The kids quiet. This is my time. But he called and I picked up that phone, and that's what it takes.
Because had you not picked up the phone, then he'd say and write off everybody else. See, I knew he didn't care. When it going gets tough, they run away. Yeah, yeah.
Especially if that's
This
what.
is say again. What was that?
Especially if that's what they're used to. Everybody abandoned them.
Exactly. Yes. Because abandonment is something that definitely happens during chaos and dysfunction.
Yes, ma'am.
That's part of it. Abuse, neglect. Um, and I think we touched on some very interesting points today because real talk, this is definitely something that needs to be addressed. Josephine says, very important conversation. That is correct, Josephine. Very important. I agree. And I that's your mom. Hi, mom. I was wondering if that was mom. Who now is Lillian Curry some kin to you too? Because I see her a lot on
Yeah.
Facebook. That's also family. Well, listen, family, thank y'all for tuning in and watching. I'm so glad that we're able to have this conversation. And you're right, Miss Josephine. This is very important because a lot of people we don't like to deal with mental health because then we got to admit that we're hurting. And nobody wants to admit that. But it'll save your life. You know, I mean, like, honestly, we have to, because here's some of the consequences. The killings and shootings that are going on in Monroeville. Those are some of the consequences. Suicide. Some kids feel there's no way out. Guys, we've witnessed kids that are taking their lives these days. Like, what does anyone stop and think about why?
Right.
Like, he felt like there was nobody for him to go to, or maybe there were people for him to go to, but you can't be hot and you can't be lukewarm with kids. You got to be in or out, and they need us to be in with them. Okay, they messed up. Don't throw the key away on them yet. They mess up again. Don't throw away yet. Keep showing up for them. You know, I know it's a lot to ask, but think about some of you that were hell raisers when you were young. Think about the people that didn't give up on you. You are where you are because somebody whose ashy knees had to get up from praying for you so much. Like,
Man,
let's just be real. Okay. And am I talking to one right now?
Yeah, prodigal prayer.
product of prayer. So why can't we turn around and do the same thing? I don't care if it's not your kid. I don't care. That's a lame excuse. I don't care if it's not your kid. I don't care if you don't know. I don't care. None of that matters, because God called us to certain things.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
got to look out for each other, guys. We have to. There can be no reasons why we can't. Everybody's not going to do the same thing. This is a start. This is how I help bringing up the conversation. Then we're going to follow it up by going to Monroeville, and we're going to do something about it. But
Yeah.
we need the community, because you guys are the ones that are there. These are your kids as well, you know, and some of them, they really are your biological kids. Even if your kid has gotten in trouble and he's in jail right now, there is still hope for him. Don't give up on him. Don't give up on it. I remember, and I was telling Emmanuel about this, that when we had the show talking about the shooting in Monroeville, and, you know, I don't know if you guys that watched that show remember at the end of that broadcast, God put it on my heart to speak to the killer, the young man who took the young man's life. We love to talk about, oh, the killing. Let's talk about the victim. They died, and it's such a shame. These kids need to get it together. But no one likes to address the one who did it. It means he's hurting too. And God doesn't love that one that got killed any more than he loves the one that did the killing.
Yes.
And that's the part we miss. And that's why it continues.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point we gotta stop. Other consequences, chronic health problems.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mental health can affect your body. It can affect. How so, Emmanuel? How so?
Well, one thing I learned in therapy is why therapy, especially, is important for Black men who die at a higher rate for cardiovascular diseases, is because anger, frustration, mental health, when we don't release it chemically, just our body, and it releases our brain, or it releases things that are hormones that raise our blood pressure, things that raise our heart rate.
Yeah.
I learned that. When I learned that, I really got my mental health together, because it's just crazy how our mind affects our body.
Wow. You guys hear that? So I think a lot of it has to do with the stuff that we watch and the stuff that we put in our spirit. I think we've allowed too much mess to get in our spirit.
Yes. Especially in the country, desensitizing everything. For me, I think it's a weapon and a tool of the enemy. He's so,
of course,
because he knows that his time is up. So he's using everything at his disposal to keep that filth in us. And until we get to the point to where we're disciplined enough to fast and pray, say we have to stay away from it, but balance it. Or just, if you can't stay away from it, stay away from it. But find a balance and pray and fast to get away from that stuff. Because at the end of the day, we are creatures of habit. And what we put in us is what will come out of us.
Say it. Say it. And I want us to really, because I listened to, I'm not sure if it was Creflo or somebody, it could have been Fred Price, I don't know, but many years ago. And I like the analogy they used. They said, our eyes and our ears are the gateways to our soul.
Oh, yes.
What we see and what we hear, it gets down in our heart, and then it comes out on our mouth. And y'all know words have power. It's the stuff we see that all this mess we keep allowing, all this generational stuff. Well, that's what my mama told me, that your daddy wasn't no good. You ain't gonna be nothing either. I heard my mama say that to me. So I'm gonna say, so you're gonna say it to your child? So either you think it's good to say and you just want to repeat it, or you don't know how to stop repeating it. And I like the story you gave about how the young lady was saying, why do you cut off the ham? And then she went to the person, why do you cut? She kept going down, because a lot of stuff we're doing is learned. It was taught that way.
Yes.
But at what point do we realize we need to stop cutting off the ham? At what point do we say, that don't make no sense?
Yeah.
That don't make no sense. Like when we just carelessly say words like, I believe it when I see it. Stuff like that. It's like, let's stop for a moment and think about some of this stuff we're doing and see, is it building us or breaking us down?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm glad that we're able to have this conversation. Now I want to get into how we improve our mental health, and then we're going to talk about your book.
Okay.
So improving mental health, what kinds of things do you think, Emmanuel, that we need to do more of so that we can start empowering ourselves? Because something in the Black community has to change. People are dying. We're still stuck in this post-traumatic slave syndrome that we just talked about. It's real, guys. And I'm not saying that we don't have to act like it didn't happen. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that we can't still fight for our rights and all that kind of stuff. What I'm saying is we can't be stuck there mentally. Slavery was a trick of the devil because it wasn't meant to just tear down your body. It was meant to tear down this.
Yes.
That was the idea.
Yes.
That's really what lynching and all that is about. It is to mess up your head. Keep your body strong, but mess up your mind. And we're still stuck. That's all this trauma is being stuck. We need to figure out how to free ourselves. Now, I'm not saying we can do it without God because we're going to need him, but there are other things we can do too. Number one, manage stress.
Yes.
What advice do you give, Emmanuel, on teaching people how to manage the stress? Because we all have it. It's a common thing. It's not unheard of. Stress can be there's a spectrum. There's a lot that goes from one spectrum, the end of the spectrum, from the beginning to the end of the spectrum. There's stress in the middle, and it's from all different walks of life, different kinds of people. What do you think? How do we manage stress better, Emmanuel?
I would say awareness.
Okay.
Awareness. When you have awareness of your triggers, a lot of stress comes from triggers. What triggered this outburst? What triggered this feeling? And when you are aware of it, then you can learn how to properly move forward. For how can I say this? When you have to when I say being aware, a lot of us act out in a way that we don't know why we act out. Some of us don't know why we have outbursts. Some of us don't know why we continue self-destructive behavior because we're triggered by something. And one thing that's important with therapy makes you look within. First and foremost, therapy's not going to change you. It's not going to change you. It would give you the tools to change yourself.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. And then so therapy helps you recognize your triggers. I act this way because of X, Y, Z. Once you learn what your trigger is, then you have the second thing, which is more important. You can't control what happened to you, but you can control your response to it. Once you are aware of your trigger, then act. Let your response be healthy. I'm not going to have this outburst and start this fire, which is going to turn to a bigger fire, but I'm going to stop. If you got to write it down, if that's what it takes to help process it, write it down. But whatever exercise you use to first aware and then act on it, that will be the ways that we can manage it. Be aware of it and then act. Not respond. What am I looking for? Your responses need to be very healthy, a healthy response.
Right.
Numbing the pain with that liquor or that alcohol, go jogging, go exercising. It is proven that the same endorphins that we get that are released in our mind for smoking that joint or drinking that booze, the same endorphins are released in the mind or feel good hormones when we work out, take a walk, or go lift some weights.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Managing the stress. Yeah. And I think that we do try to self-medicate a lot. Mm-hmm. That's okay. We do try to self-medicate thinking, because when you wake up, it's still going to be there. Yep. I think that walking is one way I do it. Like I come home and I go around the block a few times.
Hobbies.
Yeah. Writing is one way I do it. I'll watch true stories. I love watching true stories. That's one way I manage it. And sometimes I do simple things like just turn off my phone. Mm-hmm. You know, I wake up and say, okay, y'all not gonna worry me today. I'm not, ain't nobody fixing to get to me today. I'm in a moment where it's between me and God. You're not fixing to worry me today.
You're not gonna worry me today.
Sometimes you just got to tell people no. Hello, let's try it. No, I'm not giving you any money. No, I'm not going with you. No, see, it works. Just try it. You know, that's healthy for your mental health.
Warrants no explanation.
That's it. That's it. And you know, another thing too, Emmanuel, that's real is I think about the story of Jonah a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think that Jonah, he brought people into his mess. And that's how people do us.
Yes.
He brought those people into his mess. God was looking for you. Mm-hmm. And you running and getting on somebody else's boat. And now they had to pay the price because of your trifling behind. So that's how some people have allowed people to come onto our boat. And now we're getting stuff happening to us that wasn't meant for us.
Yes.
And all they had to do was do what? Throw Jonah overboard. He even told him, throw me overboard, the storm will cease. Didn't he tell him?
Yep.
They're getting rid of all their cargo and everything they worked hard for because you want to try to help this man. You know why? Because as Christians and as Blacks, we are always worrying about, well, what if he drowns when he jumps? What if we throw him overboard and he drowns? God already had a plan, Emmanuel.
He already had a plan
for Jonah.
Yep.
Sometimes when you're holding on to people, you're holding on to people that God's trying to get.
You gotta give him God.
You gotta give him to God. That's the point here. You gotta give him to God because some of you are going through stuff and it has nothing to do with you. Yes. It's because of the people you've allowed in your household and in your space. Yes. So if you don't learn how to say no and don't learn how to protect your mental health, you're gonna be sitting around and paying the price for something that had nothing to do with you. Right? Yes. So
women out there in abusive relationships, that's not love. And you are not alone. You have there are resources out there to help you. A lot of women don't want to leave those abusive relationships because they think they're embarrassed. They think they don't have any help, or they just think there's nothing out there for them. But there's resources out there for you. You're not alone. Get that Jonah house.
That's it, Jonah. Throw him overboard. But listen, I've enjoyed that conversation. But now I want to talk about your book.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you decide to write this book?
I started this book in prison in 2014, and all I had the prelude and the first couple of chapters.
Wow.
It went silent for years.
Wow.
September 7th. I was inspired again to finish my book after losing my job at OI Glass.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, it was before I lost my job. It was week before, and I left work early one night because Miss Ella, I just had enough. I got tired of wearing the mask. I got tired of being fake. Doing that night. So I drove home and I sat in the parking lot and I told God, I said, I want you to reveal yourself to me right now or it's over. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm tired of wearing the mask. I'm tired of faking and fronting. I'm tired of going through what I'm going through. Matter of fact, I don't even know which direction I want to go. My marriage is in shambles and my life is in shambles. You know, show yourself to me right now or it's over. And Ms. Ella, I began to sob uncontrollably. To the point that tears and snot flowing down my face. And the reason I was crying because I started reflecting.
Yeah.
I started reflecting on my life. And as I reflected on my life, I went into that prayer, not orthodox, a real conversation with God. Show me you. Now, oh Father, where are you?
Yeah. In
the midst of tears, I seen all the trauma. all the pain, all the hurt that happened to me, all the stuff that I caused myself because of my own decisions. And he showed me he was there the whole time.
Ooh.
And it was that night that I had an encounter with Jesus again. And when he showed me that he's always been with me, and he showed me the reason why I've been through what I've been through, I was inspired to finish that book. So I began working on my book again. And then when I lost my job a week later, that was even more motivation. Okay, I need to go and get this done. Yep.
And it freed you up
Yes.
to be able to get it done, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So how hard was that? I mean, as you were talking about that, I came up with this question in my mind. Have you ever really thought about suicide?
No, ma'am, I haven't. I've never thought about suicide or of harming myself. When I say it was over, I was talking more in the sense that I was going to stop this game of being a preacher and walking and calling myself a Christian, and I was going to go out in the world and do what I thought I was big and bad enough to do. Yes, ma'am. Only reason I have never thought about suicide is because I just always felt that I had a calling on my life, and God created me for something.
You knew you weren't done yet. You knew there's something more.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
But it's because I never had the thought of committing suicide. I still didn't value myself enough in my carnal thinking that I still was engaging in self-destructive behavior, which caused my spiritual suicide and was leading to my mental suicide. I was killing myself.
Wow. And I love that you were a pastor that recognized that you were being fake.
Yes, ma'am.
Because some people don't ever recognize it. Either they know it and they would never admit it, but it shows when you look out there in the audience and nobody's joining the church. Okay. Yes. It's difficult for me to accept that, yes, the word is being taught here when you're not building your membership, because if you're preaching good stuff, but that's a whole different show. So now you're writing this book and you finished it. I want you guys to see this. This is like a nice little video that that Emmanuel put together.
Oh, yeah, I was down, but now I'm up. I was down, but now I'm up. Yeah. It's all God, this ain't no love. Yeah. I used to be stuck in that love. Yeah. I was down, but now I'm up. I was down, but now I'm up.
Oh, I like that music. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. The title of his book is Becoming. Here, I have a picture. Unmasking Trauma, Unlocking Purpose. That is amazing. I love it. I love the front cover. Taking off that mask. Look at that. That is part of healing.
Yeah.
That's it. And when you're trying to heal with the mask on, it's not going to work. It's just going to come up later. Yeah.
To the core. You have to get to the core.
So tell us where people can find this book.
You can find this book on Amazon. As of right now, there are future plans to have it distributed in Barnes & Noble, wherever, all the book platforms. That is my prayer. But right now, you can go to Amazon.com, type in Emmanuel Scott, and type in Becoming. Y'all seen the cover, and I'm a beginning artist, so I won't pull up in the algorithm. Or you can also reach out to me on Facebook, e.o.scott, and send me a DM, and I can either send you the link or I can send you a signed copy as well.
So guys, I have the link right here. So if you're watching the broadcast, just go into my comments, click on the link right here. It will take you directly to the book. The book is only $15 and it's $9.99 if you want to get the Kindle. I think it's important for us to support our own, right? I love it. I love it. So I've already purchased. I see you, Grace property there. That's Kim. You know Kim Abney, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Kim. That's who Grace property is. Kim is doing an amazing thing in Monroeville as well, building homes and beautifying our city in an area that probably nobody would have ever touched. And that's why I'm inspired by stuff like that, because we like to do that with people too. And so he's dealing with it in a sense to create more property value, and a place that was one of the worst sections in Monroeville to now building that section up. And it raises standards. And I like that that Kim and his management team is doing this in Monroeville, because it's raising the standard. And I think that's what we have put by the wayside in our community. We've lowered our standards too low, that we see ourselves as if we're deserving of all this stuff. No, mental health is about how you see yourself. So we're allowing this to happen, Emmanuel, it's because that's how we see ourselves, right? So I think that is great. Tell us about the book. What are we going to find in the book?
My book is a memoir, but it's more than a memoir about my life. I share certain points in my life as a way to, I recognize the trauma and how that trauma shaped me and some of my behaviors. So when you read in my book, it's more of a mirror. One thing I know, that we all go through different things, but I know when we share our story, you hear somebody, you know what, I've been through that too, or I didn't think of it like that. So when they read my story and hopefully see themselves in my story, there's also points in my book where there's moments of reflection, and there's a pause for thought that will engage them to not only read my story, see themselves in my story, but pause and think. And then it's followed by a scripture, which why I believe therapy is important, but the word of God is important too. And from each moment in my book where I add the scripture, it's a thought provoke. You'll be provoked into think, and then you'll have a scripture to tie in to meditate on. And the scriptures that I added were some of the scriptures that I used to guide my life, which made my change. Like, for example, on the section of my book where I said I wrapped my way into prison, I asked, the moment of reflection, I asked other readers, what are some things that you have said and put out into the atmosphere that happened in your life, that you manifested. And then the scriptures to lead up is, there's the power of life and death is in the tongue, and those who love it eat the fruit thereof. And then it encourages them to stop speaking death over your life and start speaking life over your life.
I love that. I love it, because I think that's a generational historical type thing where we just repeat stuff because it's been told us so many years. I love that. That's one way that we have to do. Now, before we get out of here, I want people that are watching this broadcast, I don't want to take it by chance that everybody is just okay and they're not going through stuff. I did this show so that we can reach people who may or may not be experiencing some type of mental health crisis in their life. It doesn't have to be those obvious things. It could just be something you just never got over. And this is how you'll know you didn't get over it, right, Emmanuel? Is if when you have an opportunity to get back at people, you do it. You know? Yeah. If you haven't forgiven, because I'm going to tell you, healing starts with forgiveness too. I know that's a taboo topic too, because we feel like, oh, I can't forget Miss Sullivan, I can't forgive him. You're cutting yourself out from your own blessings, because you're mad at something that they probably forgot about a long time ago. This is what we call managing your stress and protecting your mental health.
It's part of being aware and a part of changing your thought process.
Absolutely.
Forgiveness is not for that other person. It's for you and your mind.
Ooh, yes, baby.
Holding grudges when that person's living their best life and you mad.
Kim says that the tongue can build and destroy. Amen. Listen, the tongue is so powerful. And it's easy to say all this dumb stuff because we think, it's cute. We've always said it. And I keep going back to this one, where you ain't going to be nothing because your daddy wasn't nothing and his daddy wasn't nothing. Your daddy was a pimp and you going to be a pimp too, right?
Yep.
I've been around and I've heard people speak like that to their children. And I'm like, ooh.
Yes.
Ooh. See, I've never had that said to me, so I don't know what it feels like. But just imagine over time that festers in their heart. And now, what did you say earlier? Your experiences shape your behavior. No, your thoughts. Your experiences shape your thoughts, and those thoughts shape your behavior.
Wow. Yes,
So
ma'am.
we're wondering why we have so much dysfunction in our community. It goes back to our experiences all the way back. Yeah.
I go to
So
the extreme side, Miss Ella. I'm so extreme with it that I don't let my kids say. Kids nowadays, when they hear something funny, they don't laugh. They say, "I'm dead." This is the trendy thing. But my kids, you're not dead. You are alive. Stop saying what you hear everybody else saying. What's trending? Speak life over yourself.
and you know, it takes time because these are hello there, Sarah. How are you?
Mama calling.
Oh, you know, listen, I think that you have a great support system. How important is your support system, Emmanuel, for you to keep your mental health strong? Because once it's been damaged and once you're back, you have to keep working at it. It's not something that, okay, it's over, I'm done, I'm good. You have to continue. What is part of that support system that you have that you know can help other people?
Definitely having a great support system is the most important thing, because I don't care what anybody says, men, it's okay to be vulnerable. All right. And when you have a support system that where you can show your weakest moments and where you can show your most vulnerable parts, that's when the healing begins. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means that you were releasing something to the atmosphere. You're giving God something that he can heal. And when you have those people in your life that say, okay, pick your head up, King, keep going. Or you have somebody to tell you that keep trying, don't stop. It is very important. My support system, I thank God for them. I thank God for my wife, my mother, my church family, and my friends and family who encourage me on a daily basis.
Is it okay for men to cry?
Not about everything. No, you have to have a balance now. I ain't gonna be crying about everything now, because at the end of the day, I am a king. It's not a masculinity thing, but it is okay for a man to release. Her name is Miss Ella. So tell her hello, and then let me finish this interview, okay?
Hello.
Hi, Sarah. How are you, dear?
Good.
Awesome. Nice to see you again.
It's definitely okay, and more men need to cry, Miss Ella. In my opinion.
Yeah, because they're told you're a man, man up. Stop being a P, the P word. You're a man, you got to lead. Stop, you know what I'm saying? And I like how you said it's okay to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. But then let's pick up and move on, because we do have a job to do. How important is it for the woman to allow the man to lead the household? Does that affect your mental health when you're not allowed to do that, or when someone else? I know that that's not your case, but imagine another man being told, okay, you ain't the man of this house, I make the most money, that kind of stuff.
It really does affect our mental, because it wasn't always like that. There was a point in time where I wasn't respected as the head of my household because I wasn't acting like that. And when you got a woman, when you ain't handling your business, a good woman will step up, you know what I'm saying, to make sure things don't fall apart. But she never disrespected me or belittled me. It was me recognizing that she is taking on a role that I was taking on, that mess with my pride when I was thinking from an unhealed lens. Instead of trying to become better, it made me bitter. It made me resentful. But when you're not respected as a man or the head of the household or the leader in your family, it's a pride thing. It messes with our pride. And that's because that's the way God ordained it to be. It's Christ, it's the husband, it's the mother, and the children. But I believe the enemy with these men and women wars that we see all over social media goes back to what we said later. He using the internet as a tool of destruction. Now we got men arguing with the women, and women arguing with the men. The roles have reversed. You got more sassy men, excuse my language, and you got more masculine women. Why? It's because of the lack of unhealed men in our community. And then we blame, I'm sorry, Miss Ezra, but this is a passionate conversation. Men, we keep blaming the women for being ratchet or loud or disrespectful. You know why? Because we're not in our rightful position.
Ooh.
When we get with God and we're start being the leaders in the community that we need to be, the woman, because that's the way she is wired and created, will naturally fall back into her position. Not that she's lower than us and we are above her, but we are the hunters, we are the builders, we are the providers, and women and women are the nurturers. Now we have that too. We have a nurturing side, and women have a building side. There's no gender roles, but I'm just going to say, without going out on a tangent, once we get back into the position we need to be, the women, I believe, will fall back into the position they need to be when it comes to building a kingdom family and healing our communities.
Which is why it's so important. Like what you said, that Frederick Douglass said, it's easier to heal a kid than it is to heal a man.
Yep.
Yeah, a grown man, because men are getting the marriages and they're bringing that stuff to the marriage.
Yes.
And the women are not understanding, well, why in the world is he going crazy? What is something triggered it? She didn't know that. So not only do we need to deal with mental health now that we're hitched, but I think we should deal with it before we get hitched. Everybody needs to work on their mental health before they go start trying to start families and hooking up with other people. Because you just got, because when you stand at the altar, all your baggage is up there too.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Wow. What an interesting conversation.
It was a conversation. I love it.
Marvin did make a comment earlier. He said words mean things. So I think we all agree that words definitely have power. And it looks like, so let's encourage some folks before we get out of here. Let's talk. I want you to address the men first. Let's talk to the men who are heads of their households, but they're secretly crying at night. They don't know where to go. They can't go to the pastor. They can't go to their parents because their parents either may be gone. They don't really trust anybody. They think it's crazy to go to psychiatrists. What can you say to the men right now that may be watching this broadcast, whether now or in the rebroadcast? What can you say to them to help them to heal? Did I lose you? I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. Oh, you can't hear me either? No, I can't. Uh-oh. Say something. I think I can hear you. Okay. Say something now. Can you hear me? You may have to go back out and come back in, Emmanuel. Live TV, guys. This is what happens.
Can you hear me, Miss Ella?
I can hear you, but I can't see you now. There we go. Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. A car crunk up outside and my Bluetooth connected to the car. Apologies.
Oh, wow. That's okay. That's okay. So I'm trying to.
You wanted to me encourage the men. First, yes. I want to say to the men, especially Black men, because of trauma and because of systemic racism and everything going on in this country, a lot of us wasn't fortunate enough to have the best upbringing, and it's because that it was our parents' fault, but they had things that they went through too. And one thing as a man, I know there's a little boy inside of a lot of us who just want to be seen. There's a little boy inside of us who want to be heard. And I don't care how grown you are, at the end of the day, there's an inner child in us that still needs that emotional healing. And it's okay to go to therapy to recognize that. We need to, only way we can change our community, Black men, is we change ourselves. Every day there's somebody dying. Every day there's somebody crying. And it's all because if you look into the community where the crime rate is the highest, see how many fathers are in the households. Most of them are in the streets, are in the graves, are in jail. It's not our fault, but we can make that change. I'm encouraging every Black man out there, stop and reflect. God created us to build, not destroy. He called us to be kings, not peasants. And once you develop that mindset, let's get to work, y'all. Because the only way that we're going to change our community is that we get back into rightful position and do it. With God, I am a believer, and I'm going to always say we can't do it without the power of God. So, on, y'all, let's go and let's wake up. We got work to do.
Now, I want you to speak to those young kids who don't have a father in the household, because one of the things that you preference in your conversation there, one of the things that we know is that there are kids that have these fatherless homes. So they need another male voice, right? Because people love to say, well, it starts at home. Well, there may not be a man at home that's healed, you know? So how do you speak to that child to be able to cope with that type of dysfunction? This is for the young men
out there.
Yeah.
You're not alone. I know it may seem like you are, but you're not alone. There are resources out there, and there are people who don't care. And just because it may not be in your own home or community for whatever the reason, if you need someone to talk to, there are teachers, there are people out there who care. But you have to first trust them enough that trust them enough that they are willing to help you, and then let your guard down and receive the help that's out there for you. I know what it's like to grow up not having a plan, and grow up feeling neglected, and grow up just wanting to be loved and seen. And when we would tend to in order to be seen, we act out and we do things that maybe not the right thing to do in effort. What? Because first we're angry and we just want to be noticed. But there's a healthy way to handle this. There is a healthy way to handle this. Instead of acting out, go seek help, therapy. If you're in high school right now, talk to a teacher, talk to a staff member, because there are people out there who are willing to help you and to point you in the right directions. But you just got to be willing to seek it.
And I want, for the record, for it to be known that if there's anyone that's watching this broadcast, you know, and you're suffering or you're having some type of mental health crisis, and now because of this show, you realize that it's a mental health crisis that you're having, because a lot of times we don't want to admit it. I would love for you to inbox me. Okay. And we will together get the help. I don't want anyone to feel that there's no one out there for them to speak to, because I am offering my services. Now, I'm not a mental health expert, but I know some. Okay.
Yes.
And we'll get you the help. Yes, absolutely. Now let's, and I want to say to the women, that watch this show and now you realize that you may be going through some kind of mental health crisis and you just never up until this moment knew who to call. Listen, we are all learning this, but we are all supposed to be one community. We said that it takes a village. Well, I want you to trust in that statement. And I know a lot of younger moms, they may not have had that experience, or you may have had that experience, because like with Emmanuel, he had a mom that was telling him the right things. He didn't go the route in his life the way he went because he wasn't being told, but he's influenced by all these other things that he was seeing, whether it's what you see on television or whatever the case may be. And all this stuff that we put in our spirit from week to week, instead of maybe learning how to invest, instead of maybe learning a different skill, we spend our time caught up in mess, and mess in, you get mess out, right? Yes. And then it flows into our kids, and it causes us to lash out at our children in unhealthy ways. Yes. And it just recreates that trauma. So I just want to encourage all the women, young ladies, you know, it's not over. God is still in it. And what I'm doing today, and I want every single person to jump in on this. One thing that I personally think that helps with mental health, I really believe that when we spend our time helping other people, that God is going to eventually clean up our mess. Right,
Yes.
Emmanuel? So
Yes.
this is what I want. This picture right here, I'm going to post it on my page. And I want every single person to take this, and I want you to post it on your timeline for everybody to see, because this is where mental health starts. We got to get healthy again. I want you to post this because it says, I watched the Ella Johnson show about mental health in the Black community, and I was encouraged to post this message to my timeline. You are loved. You are heard. And I am here for you if you need me. Your life matters. Let God turn your pain into your purpose.
Amen. Amen.
So I'm going to post that on my page because this is how we start, guys.
Yes.
This is how we start. Let's show love. You don't know how many times I've actually done a broadcast, and by the time it's over, my inbox is already full. I even had one day tell me, Miss Ella, you know, I had pills. I wanted to end my life. But when I watched your show, I put the bottle down. In the name of Jesus. That's what we prayed about, Emmanuel. This is bigger than me. This is not about me, but God knows that I will use my platform for his purpose.
Yes.
And this is about that. If you are experiencing, or you know someone who is experiencing a mental health crisis, please call or text 988 at any time to be connected to a crisis counselor. So before we get out of here, Emmanuel, I want you, didn't you say you sing?
No, ma'am. I am just a producer, engineer, and a songwriter. Yes, ma'am.
Well, child, I was getting ready to give you a hint. You were getting ready to give me a hymn. We were finna get a hymnal on the Ella Johnsons.
I probably would have caused trauma for you if you would have heard me sing. You would probably need therapy after me singing.
What? Now, you know that's not the truth. Listen, but I just want to end the show with God. You know, I don't want to leave anything to chance. And I want you, Emmanuel, if it's okay, to kind of lead people to God for anyone who has not given their heart and Christ, their heart over to Christ. I want to use this opportunity to let them know what that looks like, because I think that's where it begins.
Yes. One of the greatest decisions I made is when I decided to give my life over to Jesus. My life didn't change that day. And like a magic wand, I didn't become better. But what giving my life to Christ on that day began for me, it began to show me who I was. A lot of us are disconnected from God, and we're going through what we're going through because we have an identity crisis. I had an identity crisis. And it's when I seen myself in Jesus that I began to heal, because I began to see myself from who God created me to be, and not what the world said I was, why not the world wanted me to be. So if you find yourself having an identity crisis, if you find yourself crying and you're tired of crying, if you find yourself tired of going through the same thing every day and don't have an answer or don't know a way out of it for it, I would like to ask you, where you at right now? You don't have to wait till Sunday to go down to the altar. Where you are right now, I'm speaking for experience. If you call on his name, he will meet you right where you at.
Where you are.
If you're in the middle of drinking, he will meet you right where you at. He doesn't judge us as man judges. Matter of fact, that is the place where he wants to meet you, in your brokenness, because it is in your brokenness that God can show up and show you who he is. And once he shows you who he is, I'm telling you, you're going to have a experience that nothing else in this world can feel. You are in that void that you're trying to feel. Only Jesus can fill that void. I'm saying this from experience, y'all. When I went to jail and I thought my mama was going to save me, mama couldn't save me. But what she gave me was the Bible. And when I began to open up that Bible and read, and I learned who Jesus was for myself. I know you hear it's white man's religion, or you tired of going to church where the pastor, who may still be struggling, is not showing you what a man of God looks like. So that tends to turn you off the church. All of that is excuses. Once you know who he is for yourself, that's when you begin. That's when the change begins. So I'd like to encourage you all. try something else. You tried everything else, and it's not working. Try Jesus.
Wow. I'm ready to turn around. I'm ready to pass the collection plate. And there was the word.
Man, let's pick up some food and give it back because these people struggling with SNAP.
What? Oh my
Yeah.
God. But I think, but on that note, I think that it was the courts ruled that they have to turn over those funds.
Oh yes, because there's some funds that they put up for this, right?
Yeah. So the courts ruled. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, but you know, stuff like that, guys, we can't panic over stuff like that because this is what community is all about. You know, okay, well, we'll come together and feed families. You ain't said nothing, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, my Lord. Amen. Amen, Mrs. Curry. So I appreciate you for being my guest today.
Yes, man. Thank you.
I think it was a great conversation. I look forward to reading your book. I want to remind you guys, please go to the link that I put up. It's in my comments and paying partial benefits. Yeah. I want you guys to, oh, he said partial. Yeah. They're only paying partial benefits from the SNAP. Yeah, that is true. That is right, Kim. That's exactly what they said. But it's, you know, it's something. And I just wanted to do this broadcast today, guys, because, you know, everything that I'm seeing around me, it looks like we need to really, really take a look in the mirror and we need to start working on ourselves so that we're not creating and recreating this generational trauma that continues. And we need to stop it right here. And if you are in a situation where you can do that, let's do that. Now, Emmanuel, before I go, you and I talked about going to Monroeville and doing something. Right? Because I was telling you about where the name of our group is 50. I can't remember what it is right now. Lord bless America. But anyway, we created a group. It's myself, Stephanie Richardson, Yolanda Knight, and Leanne Prier. And it's like a community network, 51 community network, you know, networking for DeVille or something. DeVille Connection. That's what it is. DeVille Connection. Yes. Thank you. Y'all forget my age. Forgive me. But we wanted to go to Monroeville Thanksgiving weekend and we petitioned city council, but they didn't open it on the floor to even decide on it. That's all right. I'm not bitter about that because there are other ways, because we were actually trying to have this at the square where it would be like a stop the violence type thing. And we were going to have all these vendors. I already had contacted a lot of people that had agreed to be there. We were going to bring out some trail ride people. Jackie Odom's son, Antonio, my nephew, he was going to come from California and be a part of this so we can get the young people there. But they didn't open it up and they didn't care to address it at their meetings. No worries. We're still going to do it, but we're going to try to change the date and location because we were trying to have it at the square. Because that's a good location. Everyone has to go through there. So that's what we were trying to do. But I want you to be involved because I think that we need to create something for the young people specifically that's going to give them a safe haven for being able to talk to someone. And you and I will talk a little bit more about what that looks like. But I definitely want you to be involved. We need strong men. I'm telling you, I think that we need some kind of big sister, big brother program implemented in Monroeville, meaning that's something we don't have to be there to do. It's better if we are, because we're able to go out to lunch with them. We're able to be there when they're getting dressed for a big event, be there for prom. But I think that we need to find a way to adopt some of these kids. And if it's nothing more than, hey, call me up, I'm your big brother, you know, for the ones that don't have big brothers or big sisters, or the ones that are re-traumatized the third time generation type stuff. So I think that there's something we can do, even though we're not in Monroeville. And you and I will talk about that. And then we'll tell you guys what it is. But we need as many people to get involved as possible. You know, when I announce it, Kim, you'd be one. That would be great. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but you know, that's what I do. You know, I do that. That's what I do. Because I think you're good. I think that people that have left, that have gone on to do great things, that's who these kids want to hear from. You know, like you, Emmanuel, you went to prison. This is a young man that I'm interviewing today, guys, who went to prison. He was behind bars And so he's telling you he's giving you real talk, real conversation about what he went through. And he's trying to say, you don't want that.
You
right?
don't want that. No.
That ain't what you want, baby. That ain't what you want. Right.
Right. Really not.
All right. Well, anything last you want to say before we get out of here? I think I've kept you long. No. All right.
I just want to say I thank you, Miss Ella Johnson, for allowing me to be on your platform. I pray God continue to bless it and take it to levels that you couldn't even imagine.
Yes.
And I pray to touch someone. So thank you so much.
No problem. To God be the glory. I received that in the name of Jesus. All right, guys. Amen. Well, thank you all so much for tuning into the Ella Johnson Show on this Saturday at 4 p.m. for the broadcast, 3 Central. And I just want you to know that this show will rebroadcast tomorrow at 3 Central, 3 Eastern, and 2 Central for those of you that may have missed this live broadcast. So thank you to those of you who are watching the rebroadcast. And we'll get out of here. I'll be back. My next hero from DeVille is Thursday night, guys. Trent Eager. He is going to be, you remember him, right?
Yes,
yeah.
I do. I was close with his brother Maurice, but I know.
Yeah. Well, he's our next hero from DeVille, and he's going to be right here on Thursday night, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central. He's our hero from DeVille for November. And then in December, our hero from DeVille is Larry Snowden. I know a lot of you guys may know him, but he's going to be our hero from DeVille. And remember, I started those shows because I want to give back and give people their flowers while they can still smell. So I believe in letting people know it now while they can hear how much they're appreciated. So until next time, we'll see you guys. Have a great evening and be safe. Thanks again for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. We'll see you next time.
We are supporters of the Ella Johnson Show. We live in South Korea. We have been watching Ella Johnson Show for like a year now. And we love her show. Her show is very inspirational, motivational, and educational.
If you would like to be a guest on the Ella Johnson Show, send an email to theellajohnsonshow@gmail.com or send a text message to 407-334-6997.
We love Ella Johnson Show.